Bianca, thank you so much for taking time to do this. I really, really appreciate it. And I've been excited to hear more about your story after hearing you tell multiple stories. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and this is a beautiful space. We are here where Bianca works, and so this is it's a great location. And so I appreciate you, again, taking time out of your schedule and opening this up to me. So I'm excited to hear from you. So let's jump in.
Yeah, let's do it.
As far as storytelling goes, I would love to hear how you got started. Like, how did this journey for you begin?
Yeah, I've always been a storyteller, and I think at first I looked at it as a negative. My mom would always tell me to get to the point, Bianca, because she'd ask me, like, what happened in my day at school or what happened at that event, and I would have to make sure that I started from the very beginning and I included all of the people, and it would drive her bonkers, but at the end of the day she'd actually really enjoy it. So I think that was my earliest memory of just naturally that being in me, of someone who loved to paint the picture of my life experiences. And then formally, I think my first intro to that was when I participated in public speaking competitions in Florida growing up in school there. They had like Tropicana 4-H competitions, if anyone remembers or knows those. And I got to tell a story around the time my brother set our kitchen on fire, and so that was one that I really enjoyed doing and fell in love with it. And I continued to do other forms of storytelling, like being on the news team, etc.
That's really cool. I love it. So I have to know, thinking about you as young Bianca and telling these stories and being a student, were you one in class? Did you often get in trouble for talking too much? Were you like a talker as a kid as well?
I always had great grades and everything else was perfect, but I would always have needs improvement for talking. I just could not stop the chatter and just wanting to connect. I'm very much an extrovert, so.
Well, when you said that, it like made me think that would be an interesting thing for me to ask, like all these people I've already interviewed, if as kids, like because that was a similar theme in Al's interview, because I just did Al Wiseman's, the last one, and he said that he realized as a kid he had a knack for like making people laugh, which he would get in trouble for, but like humor just became a thing, and he just could so easily connect with people over, talking and telling stories. And so, and I was the same way as a kid. I would always get in trouble in class for running my mouth. So I totally relate. So, well, you talked about the 4-H and those competitions as a kid. Now, as an adult, what can you remember, like the first time standing on stage and telling a personal story, like something that was, from you that just that experience? What was it like to get on stage and tell that first story? Do you remember that?
I do remember it. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. I think it's almost like an adrenaline rush for me. I didn't think that I would be this past April, by the way, in front of a little over 200-ish people telling a story that I thought I would just keep close to my heart. And this actually came through my second Moth Atlanta event. I was an observer for the first one and I really loved it. And then I think the second time I decided the last 30 seconds before cutoff to put my name in the hat to speak. And I just remember thinking, okay, well, I might not get called, right? They only select 10 people a night. But I still jotted down 3 little bullets to kind of wrap my head around what am I going to say. The theme was bloom. So already it was a very vulnerable, personal theme about, that coming to age story. And I had an idea about me being bullied for my eczema and other things like that. But I just didn't know if I was ready to come in with that. But I went with it. And I thought I was going to get away with not having to tell it. And I just remember Ron Chapman, who introduced me to this space, he was like, oh, well, at least you got over the fear of putting your name in the hat. But you might not get called. But at least now you can do it. Well, I was number 8. To be picked. And I was like, darn, I gotta get up and do this thing. And I just remember feeling nervous, but then calm. And I don't know if it's because the lights block out everyone's faces. You can't really see, which is a plus, but it just felt like I was in a safe space and I just let it flow. And I just remember walking away from that, like, what did I just say? How did it land? But then hearing applause. And I won that night.
Yeah.
My first time telling.
Which is incredible,
Yeah.
which I love it. And that was, we met you that night. My daughter and I were there, and we got to see and hear that first story. And so it was really cool to see, you know, because I met you through Ron, because I had already met Ron. And so then to see you get up there, and it was like, all right, because Ron even told me, he's like, I think at some point we were in the lobby and you were not sitting right by, and he was like, yeah, he's like, I'm really trying to encourage Bianca to like put her name in, and I'm like, well, I hope she does. And then next thing you know, we're sitting out there watching, and you win. And so I was like, this is amazing. So that was really fun to watch. I was excited for you and glad to be able to see that. So
yeah.
I know Ron was super excited too.
Ron is very convincing. Yeah. He is very gifted at gently nudging.
Yes.
So I got a lot of motivation, and I think there was someone who was next to me that said she put her name in the hat like second half when they didn't have enough names. And I'm like, okay, I got to do this. Like, come on.
Yes.
So
it was great. It was great. So, well, as far as getting on stage and telling a story, one of the things I thought about was just, you know, when performing a story, how does it feel to you, like, to get up there and to share something personal? And obviously with the preparing of that one, you said you kind of like came up with the idea in the seat, like right before. But with your involvement in other storytelling capacities, are you often thinking about like the crowd and kind of planning your talk for them? Or is it mostly just you saying, all right, this is something I personally just want to share?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I lean more inward. That's where I get my confidence from, because I think my style is more vulnerability and trying to just relate. So, I mean, yes, in a sense that I'm hoping whatever I say from my heart resonates with someone in the audience. So kind of like that inside out approach.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Well, so to change gears a little bit, just thinking about, you mentioned Ron and you know how convincing Ron is, and it's funny because even Ron, he's been a real encouragement to me as I've kind of gotten involved and done some things, and even with the Songs That Shape Us event, like he was one of the first people I kind of told this idea to, and he was so like encouraging and convincing, and so, but I've just really appreciated that about this community as a whole, just how involved people are in each other's lives, but then also how genuinely excited they are for other people. And so like when you put your name in the hat that night, I'm sure you were so nervous, but like everybody there was so genuinely excited to hear your story. And I think they really, again, they resonate. So anyway, I say all that to say, this storytelling community, how has it impacted you so far, and how has it been meaningful for you?
Yeah, I think it's just really opened my eyes to how much of a connection point the storytelling community can be. Like, I think at first I looked at it as a place of entertainment. Like, oh, I'm going to come and I'm going to hear tea, as some would call it, people's business. But actually, it's a safe space. Like you said, I was able to get up that night because of the people before me who were vulnerable. I think there was one other person that was like, this is my first time, and everyone actually clapped harder, you know, and so I think that what's been the most eye-opening and what I've loved the most about it is the family and really connection-oriented part of it, and how authentic everyone is. People want to help. They want to encourage everyone to be their unique self and do it the way that you do it. There is no playbook to this. It's however you see and however you create your own path into it.
Yeah, totally. I agree 100%. And that's been really a neat thing to see. And just as I've gotten to hear all these wonderful storytellers tell their story about how they got involved, the community was such a huge part. And even Al, who's the current host, I mean, he was a part for a long time before becoming the host, and even to hear him tell his story about just the way people have just really come alongside of him, and it's just a special community. So I'm really excited and thankful to be a part of it. Another thing I'm excited about is you being a part of this next The Songs That Shape Us event, which is, again, another thing that was birthed out of this community and me getting to know people. And so I'm really excited to hear your story that night. Can't wait to hear. But you mentioned something earlier that I thought was fascinating, that at the first event you were there and you had a little bit of a covert job that night, which I'd love to hear you tell a little bit more about that, because I did not know that this was a thing. So
yeah, absolutely. And first I'll say the Songs That Shape Us is a phenomenal event. I am so honored to be participating in the next one. And yes, I have a lot of fellow Toastmasters that also attended that event. And for those that don't know, Toastmasters is a public speaking organization. And so Ron Chapman, he was one of the first speakers to be a part of the first Songs That Shape Us event. And he is also a Toastmaster. And a cool thing about being a part of this organization is it's all about taking where you are as a speaker, storyteller, and making it better in a very welcoming environment, similar to the Atlanta storytelling community. And so you don't have to be only in a Toastmaster environment for you to have feedback and give like a speech, which is the basis of it. And so that night, Ron asked me as a fellow Toastmaster to evaluate him, because in Toastmasters, we often have this feedback loop where we pinpoint what we want to focus on, and then the person evaluating you gives you that feedback to help you grow. And so I was there enjoying the event, but I was also listening for his growth areas and cues. And I think Ron was focusing on connection to the audience that night, and he did a phenomenal job with that. So
totally, he really did. I mean, he was the first one that night, and he definitely set the tone. It was really good, and anyway, so I when you said that earlier, and I kind of caught that little bit, I was like, this is fascinating, just because again, I know that so many people who are involved at the Moth are also involved at, with Toastmasters or with Kuumba or with like the Georgia, Storyteller Network. I mean, there's just so many different places for people to get connected, and so I love hearing that crossover and hearing how just supportive again people are of each other. So as far as this next event on October 21st, I already know the song that you've picked, which I'm not going to say, and I'm so excited to hear that story. But when you think about being an observer, and being there for that first one and watching Ron and the others, and now kind of switching gears and thinking about being in the next one, like are there any, just what are some of your excitements or thoughts, or do you have anything that you're really excited about that night?
Just being in the room, it was an amazing event. Like, I encourage anyone from any walk of life to go. You are guaranteed to be forever changed, inspired, and just have a different outlook on, people, life, perspectives. I'm a music junkie. I listen to multiple genres, have a very eclectic taste. So this was probably the best place for me to hear stories and get a concert out of it. So I just think I'm looking forward to that, just seeing what songs come about and how people relate to it, because the way that I think of a song and what memory comes to mind for a song might be different for someone else, but maybe we both are now merging our connection points. So, and it just goes back to that whole point of this, which is that it's a community that connects.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too.
And we've got 3 new storytellers. So obviously with you and with Samuel and Kamaria, but then we've got obviously 3 that are coming back again. So couldn't be more excited about that. But so to close our time, I wanted to just give you the opportunity to share a little bit as far as. You've been in this for a while now. Again, you said Toastmasters. You've done the Moth now. You're getting ready to do this event with us. If there was somebody who you met who was thinking about getting involved in storytelling and maybe just hasn't had much experience getting on stage and telling a story, what are some things you would encourage them to do, leading into that start of that journey?
I would encourage them to go for it. And that might sound cliche, but I think this is a space where it's what you make. It's your walk and your journey. I think one of the best things I've heard is that everyone has their own unique storytelling style. So I think this isn't the space where you get caught up in the mechanics or the how-tos or the tutorials. It's more about how you see it and what's on your heart. And me personally, I'm a heart led storyteller. So I would say to lean in and do what feels right and comfortable for you, and you'll always walk away feeling, accomplished for yourself, and then hopefully connecting with others through that by being authentic to who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. So, and I guess just to close out, if there's anything else that you have on your mind as far as this storytelling journey, I don't know if you have a little maybe a story that you've not shared yet that you might want to give a little preview to, or if there's something else that you would like to say about just your relationships that you formed. If there's anything else that you want to say, I want to give that to you to close this.
Yes, and this is kind of like what I was saying before about, leaning into what feels right to you, but also a theme this year for me has been saying yes. Had I not back in April of this year said yes to this Moth event that I was, what is a Moth, right? Like I didn't know what it was, and I had been closed-minded, or had like this idea that I needed to have certain credentials, I wouldn't have met you, Josh, or gotten a chance to be in Songs That Shape Us, and just so many opportunities. And even if it's not an opportunity, it's a learning moment. Our exposure has come from just saying yes and being curious and just checking in like, okay, well, how does this align with me? So I'd say just keep that in mind as you're exploring this. It's really a welcoming, inviting community. It feels like family. Feels like I've known everyone for like forever.
Right?
Yeah.
It totally does. Yeah, I love that. Well, and this idea of saying yes and just kind of jumping into things. I know you and I had talked a little bit before we were filming, and I know for me this all kind of started at somewhat of a midlife crisis, me trying to figure out some things about myself and using gifts and trying to get involved in some ways. And one of the things I did probably a year and a half or 2 years ago, I went to a Creative Mornings event, and John Good, who's the former host of the Moth, now Al's the host, but John was the keynote speaker at this Creative Mornings event. And the theme was patterns. I still remember it. And one of the things that John shared, and we talked about it afterward because I went up to him and was just like, I have to meet him. But he said one of the pieces of advice he gave was to basically to jump off the cliff and find your wings on the way down, and just to go for it, like you said, just to jump in and do it. And I think for me, for so long, I worried about the outcome and like, what's going to happen if I do this? Am I going to fail? Am I going to look foolish? And instead of just saying, you know what, like, what's the worst? I mean, I should jump in and take chances. And doing these interviews and this event in July and coming to the Moth and meeting you and all these wonderful people, like you said, had I not just jumped in, I would have never had these experiences, and this joy in life. And so I think that is great advice for people, that whatever it is that they're thinking about, go for it. Because you never know what joy and what real blessings are going to be on the other side of that decision. So I 100% agree with that. So
yeah,
thank
me
you.
too. Amen.
Yeah. Well, Bianca, again, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. I know life is busy, it's crazy, and so being here with me, I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, and thank you for putting this together. Talk about ideator. You have these great ideas, and then they just come to life, and it's just been great to meet you and see all that you're doing for the community in Atlanta and Storytellers. So,
well, I thank you so much for that. That's humbling. I really appreciate it. So, and again, it's been my joy and privilege and honor. So, thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you on October 21st.
Yes, everyone be there.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully we'll see a lot of people there. So thank you so much, Bianca.
Thanks.
All right.